got a former champion, a two-time champion, Brandon Moreno, who at this point, man, I mean, Amir Albazi is a guy who a lot of people were saying, this guy deserves the next shot. You guys keep fighting the same 4 or 5 people over and over again at 125. Let's mix it up. But what happened here, AJ? Actually, something really interesting that we need to talk about. AJ, question. You heard about some of the health stuff going on with Amir Albazi, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so some of the health stuff includes a heart surgery that was taken care of, but following the heart surgery was a neck injury, a spine injury. Give me a quick second to just solo out and talk to the people about what it is that we have found here. So Amir Albazi, he did open up on his fight hiatus and his injuries, and after defeating Kai Kara-France, who was already supposed to fight Brandon Moreno, right? Like this fight was already supposed to take place, but he had to pull out. So instead of fighting in Mexico City, he had to say, well, listen, man, I kept training for that fight and my left arm literally stopped, man. Like I couldn't lift my arm up. I couldn't jab. I couldn't do anything, but I still kept training. After I got my first MRI, doctor said you shouldn't be fighting anymore. Find a 9 to 5. Your career is over. Could you imagine, people? You're this close to getting a title shot, to fulfilling your dreams. And the doctor tells you it's a wrap, buddy, no more. So what did he do? He kept going to different doctors. And when the UFC doctors found out, they literally pulled me out of the fight against Brandon Moreno. And he went straight into surgery. They told me I was 1 punch away from getting paralyzed. So after that surgery, here I am. It's the longest break of my career. Now, AJ, let me switch us back so we can get to the right spot. That's a little alarming, right? Like that's not a good thing that you want to open up on prior to your fight against this two-time champion who's looking to be hungry and get back in the win column. So we needed to start off there. What do you make of this matchup with that knowledge now in the forefront of your mind?
With that knowledge, Derek, what worries me is the volume that Moreno's able to put into these fights, right? He has a very high volume, very fast style of fighter. And with the style that we've seen Amir Albazi take in the past, right? Forward pressure, just kind of a straight line, going to close the gap on you. Moreno is very, very good at piecing those kind of things up. But I mean, as far as health concerns, as long as he's back, checked out, everything's going good, I'm sure he's fine. But it's not something you'd like to hear if that's your fighter going into this one. You can't lift your left hand. You're 1 punch away from, like, oh, man, sounds crazy.
Yeah. And the reason I asked you is specifically that, right? You watch the tape and all that good stuff. Obviously, we're never going to know what version of Amir Albazi shows up until Amir Albazi shows up. But I think that impacts the line. So I was actually surprised. When I started breaking down this, I thought Albazi was the favorite and Moreno was a dog. And I was a genius being like, Moreno at dog odds with the volume that he's going to put up, just like you mentioned. Bro, this is a home run. What are we talking about? And then I looked at the odds and I saw, oh, wait, no, Brandon Moreno opened as a minus 150 favorite, and he's currently tracking minus 175, plus 145 for Amir Albazi. So before we jump further into those numbers, let's dive a little bit deeper into just the styles, right? Albazi, he's a grappler with big power who's going to look to push you up against the fence and either come in on a single leg or find the body lock, take your back, and we'll just kind of see what happens from there. But that low output over the course of 5 rounds can easily lose him a fight. What did you think of the Kai Kara-France fight? Low output. He did get to his grappling spots, but he won the fight, man, and he won via decision. He got outstruck pretty handily in that one. What'd you make of it?
What I took away from that, Derek, it seemed to be the old school style of scoring we were seeing, a year, 2 years ago. I forget the date of the fight, but this, when control and pressure was winning the fights, that's how he was able to get that decision. But this is a new day, Derek. We've seen how the scoring has changed more towards damage and violence. And with the pressure that's going to be put, man, it makes a big asterisk for Albazi. The thing I like about it, though, is when he does get to his position, he's powerful enough and strong enough on that top position to keep it and hold people there. And that's going to be a really good thing if he's not damaged up too much on the feet.
100%. And you read my mind right there. I think this matchup is as simple as it comes down to if Amir Albazi lands the takedown, and he has taken down every opponent in the UFC thus far, is 5-0 in that span, then I think that Brandon Moreno is going to just have to be urgent, get back up to his feet, and try to avoid getting landed on in those ground and pound type situations. But that's the thing. Amir Albazi isn't very active in ground and pound. It's just kind of control, look for the submission, things of that nature. So, all right, looking at numbers, I don't want to say decision is a surefire shot at 125 pounds between these two types of fighters, but I feel like it's going to trend that way more than it is anything else. Plus 155 decision for Brandon Moreno, plus 155 for Albazi. With the scoring that you just mentioned, Brandon Moreno has to be favored at plus 155. You have to love that play, right?
Absolutely. That seems like the play with the most juice. I really don't see a finish coming, right? Unless it's a TKO from the Moreno side with just a crazy ground and pound, but it doesn't make sense to me. I like that plus 155 odd.
What about just the strength of schedule, man? Do you think Amir Albazi poses as much of a threat as the media portrays him to be? Because in my mind, he was this really scary dude who was the dark horse of the flyweight division until I watched tape and I was like, all right, there's past the victory here.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Derek. Is he a solid and very strong fighter? Absolutely, right? Dominating it. If you let Amir Albazi stand there and work that straight line and crush that pressure and get you to the fence and take you down, you're going to have a long night. But a lot of the time we're seeing long nights don't always equal wins for those people, right? If you're able to get the damage going, things different, things change in the fight. I don't see the speed, or I see the speed and the movement, especially the foot and the head movement, that unorthodox striking that Moreno presents. I see that being a very big problem on getting this fight to where Albazi wants it to be.
And ultimately, folks, let's see, right? It depends on the version of Moreno that shows up, because that version of Moreno against Brandon Royval gassed out over 3 rounds, but Royval is also a dude with nonstop pressure, nonstop something in your face, giving you something to think about. Amir Albazi is going to plot, right? He's going to be kind of that plotting flyweight who just tries to walk you down. So just remember this. Brandon Moreno, he's fought 4 guys 8 times in the last 4 years, but all high level of competition. Brandon Royval, Alexandre Pantoja, Davison Figueiredo, and Kai Kara France. The best victory that Amir Albazi has, in my opinion, is the Kai Kara France in his last 5, but he also has a big win over Alessandro Costa. He fought Francisco Figueiredo, Zalga Zumagulov, and Malcolm Gordon, and 2 of those dudes aren't in the UFC. 3 of those guys actually might not be in the UFC anymore. Brandon Moreno, decision play at plus 155. Are you taking that prop play all day, or are you taking him at minus 175 money line and calling it?
I'm taking that prop play all day, Derek. I think that's going to be the most likely outcome for this fight.
And that is your consensus pick for the main event, baby. Let's go. Brandon Moreno in Canada, and may the odds ever be in your favor.